am sickety sick of these influencers and coaches and people with massive platforms making really big, bold claims like sugar causes ADHD, smartphone use causes ADHD, for clickbait, for clout. And I've actually had many arguments with people on social media about this topic, especially when it comes to food. So today, ladies, gentlemen, people, we are going to be breaking down what the science says about sugar and ADHD, and why ultimately these claims and little sound bites can actually be pretty harmful rather than just silly little claims. So let's get stuck in. But before we do, in case you have just clicked on this video because it sounds pretty good and you want to know about it, hello, my name is Lucy. I'm an online fitness coach who helps people on the health and fitness journey, especially when it comes to weight loss and relationships with food with ADHD. And one of my favorite things to do is to dispel and debunk bullshit myths that are making your relationship with food worse and making you do stuff that you don't actually need to do in the hope that it's going to fix your ADHD, but it won't. So if that's a bit of you want real talk, you want to know the truth about these things, just make sure you hit follow, because I share this kind of stuff on the YouTube channel every single week. Now, back to today's topic. Now, I have had clients who came to me thinking that if we just get rid of sugar, if we cut it out, it is going to fix their ADHD, until they try and do that and they realize it actually makes things worse, because trying to cut out or remove sugar is really frigging hard when we live in a world where sugar is pretty much everywhere. It's so easily accessible, and it is something that gives us a massive hit of dopamine, right? When we eat sugar, the dopamine pathway in our brain lights the hell up and it feels good. So what happens is when you try and just completely cut it out, you go from 0 to 100 or 100 to 0, however you want to phrase it, you get withdrawal, the same way that you would with anything that induces dopamine in our brain. Smartphone use, drugs, alcohol. So what happens? You start to get those cravings, you start to get those urges, you start to feel irritable. And what happens is then something that we know is called a rebound effect, where the harder you restrict, the more that you rebound. Cognitive restraint theory, it's called, if you want to get all psychological and sciencey. And what then happens is you have a little bit, because eventually your willpower's gonna run out. You know, when it's everywhere, it's not like you can avoid it. Everywhere you turn, there is gonna be sugary, delicious foods around. So you have a biscuit, you have a bit of cake, you have a croissant, and what happens? The floodgates open, you then binge, and then you feel that you have no self-control, that you're this sugar cookie monster around this food. You create that relationship with it. And then you think you've got no self-control, and you think that's the reason that everything's a problem, and then you see how you're in a bit of a vicious cycle with it. So this advice of remove sugar, get rid of it, it's not helpful. But it's also extremely not helpful to say that sugar is the cause of ADHD, because ADHD is not a nutritional deficiency, or it is not caused by sugar or processed food. It is a neurodevelopmental condition. It is how the brain is structured and formed from birth. And there is literally zero research that sugar causes ADHD, or that eliminating it is going to cure ADHD symptoms, because it isn't the cause. There is impact of sugar on ADHD, but it is not the cause. And what all these gimps online get wrong, Joe Wicks is a really good example of this. He once came out and said that ADHD is caused by eating ultra-processed foods. It's caused by sugar. And the reason that people make these claims is that we know that when you do eat more sugary food, it can exacerbate ADHD symptoms. If you eat a lot of processed food, which can impact mood, it's going to impact emotional reactivity. If you eat a lot of sugary food, it's going to increase hyperactivity. So there is a link, but it's not a cause. It's a correlation, it's not a causation. So what can we actually do about this, right? Now you understand that actually completely cutting it out is probably a really bad idea. You understand that there is no research that says hardcore ADHD and sugar. You eat sugar, you give your children ADHD. You eat sugar, it makes it bang on worse. You should cut out sugar, right? You know that. So now you're thinking, right, but if it does make my symptoms a little bit worse, and we know that, what can I do about it in a practical way, right? And that's what these videos are about. It's not just here to shit on people like Joe Wicks, as much of a moron as he is. I'm here to give you valuable insight and information. So here are some practical ways that you can incorporate sugar into your diet with ADHD to not make it worse and still enjoy the good food, all right? So the same way that too much sugar can exacerbate ADHD symptoms, you can use nutrition to support ADHD symptoms. So what does this mean? we should be thinking about getting, I always like to say, about 80% of our food from good quality, single ingredient, minimally processed food. It's not that the processed food or the sugar causes ADHD. It's not like you eat a biscuit and your ADHD symptoms are amplified on steroids. But we know that too much of it can make things worse. But we don't want to get rid of it completely, like I said at the start. So if you can aim for like an 80-20 balance, so the majority, and a good way of looking at this is, I don't expect my clients to sit there, calculating how much a percentage of their day is processed food. Is I say, right, well, if you could make 2 out of 3 meals like whole food focused, or all of your meals whole food focused, but then have one of your snacks in your day, something that you really enjoy, that's a really, really, really good balance. So that would be step 1. Step 2 is understanding sugar, right? So if we know that too much sugar in one go can make ADHD symptoms worse, what we want to avoid is these big sugar spikes and crashes, right? So the ways that you can avoid that is to ensure that you are having regular balanced meals with protein and fiber in them. So rather than just having, for example, Frosties for breakfast, as great as Frosties are, you'd be better having something like a lower sugar cereal like cornflakes with some sort of protein, like a protein shake on top, and then some fruit on there as well. And what I always say to clients is, if you are going to have something very, 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 very sugary, so let's just say you did want some Frosties. Frosties are great, aren't they? Comment in the comments your favourite cereal. I want to hear all about it. I love Frosties. Pair it with, again, some fibre and protein so it slows down that spike. Because if you have direct high sugar foods with protein and fibre, it's going to mitigate how much of a spike you have, which is going to mitigate the symptom flare up that you would get with it. So something that's really good is something like putting, oh, this is so good, by the way, guys, thank me later. Greek yogurt, bit of protein powder if you've got it, put your Frosties in there and then put some fruit in there as well, or berries or banana. It is top tier elite, and it stops that massive, massive spike, which stops the hyperactivity, the emotional swings, etc. The third thing is to understand that actually, if you are experiencing these massive, are we on 3 or 4? I think we're on 3. The third thing to understand is if you are experiencing these really big symptom flare-ups, but you are doing nothing else to manage it, and you're putting it all down to food, that's a problem. Because yes, food is going to make an impact, but if you are managing your symptoms, your dopamine regulation in other areas of life, then these things are not going to be as impactful, right? Because if you're already in a place where your emotional reactivity is really high, you're going through these hyperactive, because you're not managing things well enough, well, it's going to make things worse. So you need to be thinking about like your mindset-based strategies, your lifestyle factors. I've done plenty of videos on ways that we can manage ADHD naturally, so just go and have a look through my channel. But you do want to be considering that as well. Don't think that food is going to be the thing that fixes everything. Nutrition, both the nutrition that supports you and the nutrition that could be harmful, is supportive, but looking at your underlying factors, it's always going to have so much more benefit, right? So if you are trying to fix or cure your ADHD with food by what you do eat or what you don't eat, you need to understand that it really is only a small part of the puzzle, right? You cannot cure ADHD. There is not one thing that is going to make it specifically better or specifically worse. Food plays a role, food plays a function, but it is not the be all and end all. Thus, you cannot fix it with what you eat. So these gurus telling you that if you just eat like this, your ADHD is going to be managed, it's a lie. And on the flip side, the people telling you that removing this food and cutting it out is going to make everything better, it is a lie. A healthy, balanced diet will support it and make life easier and better, but it is not a cure and is not the thing that's going to ruin it either. So you please, no need to just live off raw rabbit food and cut out the good food. There really is no need. All right. Now, I am so big on sharing the stuff that you need to know. Like, I don't generally make big, bold, sexy claims. Like, you probably listen to this and go, like, but the reason is that I want you to live a happy, healthy, thriving life where you don't fall into, I've fallen victim to these extremes and listened to these bold claims from these influencers and people online to try and manage things because it's sexier. If you do something bold and brave, it gives you a dopamine hit. But it actually makes life a lot harder than it needs to be. And I'm all about making it as fun, easy, and simple as it needs to be. So make sure that you are connecting with me everywhere. Instagram, TikTok, and obviously, of course, on here as well, where I share the stuff that you need to know. All right? And please come say hi. Like, I see the views, I see the listens. I don't know who you are, and it would be really nice to connect with you guys and obviously know what other things you enjoy hearing and what value you've taken from this as well. But if you've taken nothing from today, don't cut out your Frosties, don't cut out your biscuits, don't cut out these things. Don't live off rabbit food thinking it's going to fix anything. And also as well for you mums out there, or mums that, potential mums, worrying that what you eat might cause ADHD in your children, it's absolutely not the case, okay? So please continue having a digestive, have a custard cream on your pregnancy. Do not let these people make you fear that you are giving your child ADHD, or don't live with guilt that you might have done because of how you ate, okay? Over and out today. Have a fantastic rest of your day, everyone, and I will see you on another goddamn video.